All right, a happy Saturday. We're going to crank out some trade guide videos just to try to get caught up with the deadline about a week and a half away on February 8th. We've got about 14 or 15 teams up. There's a full slate of NBA games on ESPN, certainly Miami, New York, and then Denver, Philly, battle of the two most recent MVPs, and then the nightcap with Golden State in the Los Angeles Lakers. So we're going to do a Philadelphia 76ers video. We did a video back in, I think it was late December, when Tim Bontemps and I wrote an article about the different path that Philadelphia has as far as when we're about to enter the next week and a half, as far as what they can do as far as at the trade deadline, what they can do in the offseason, a little bit of a history as far as Daryl Morey, their GM, as far as his days in Houston and certainly now in Philadelphia. You look at a Philadelphia team that's sitting in the number 3 spot. Can certainly catch Milwaukee at 2. We'll see about getting Boston at number 1 here. There is some separation, a little bit of separation between Cleveland and certainly New York there. I think the biggest thing you worry about with Philadelphia is what they look like when we get to the postseason. That's always been kind of their Achilles heel. What is Joel Embiid? Is he in or is he out? And I don't think this team is good enough. Certainly if Embiid is out of this lineup here. You have Embiid, you have Tyrese Maxey, who's having an all-star, all-NBA type season. 2 high-level players, Tobias Harris, certainly, and then I think you have a complementary group of role players here. And there's nothing wrong with that, but there's a slim margin there, with certainly if Embiid goes down, and I think certainly with Tyrese Maxey. And you could say that for any of these teams. You could say that in Dallas if Luka goes down, yeah. But I think there's the track record as far as where Philadelphia is as far as Embiid's health. But here's what Philadelphia is staring at when we're getting closer to this deadline here. They're sitting on 12 expiring contracts. The only players that are under contract for next year are Joel Embiid, Paul Reed, who's got a non-guaranteed contract that triggers if they get to the second round, becomes full, and Jaden Springer, and certainly that Tyrese Maxey restricted free agent salary cap hold. Probably shouldn't lump him in that group of expiring contracts because Tyrese Maxey is not going anywhere. You've got 3 first-round picks that you can trade now, which is interesting. Once we get to the night of the draft, 3 first-round picks now increases to 5 because Philadelphia is able to trade their 2024 first and their 2031 first. So it's almost like a multiplier here as far as what they have available to trade here. They've got 3 years of pick swaps. They've got 6 seconds to move. And as I said, they've got $100 million in expiring contracts. Daryl Morey has been made the second most trades in the regular season as of all active general managers. He's only behind Sam Presti. We saw his track record swapping Simmons for Harden. Certainly some minor trades last year, getting McDaniels, moving out Matisse Thybulle in a deal here. So Philadelphia is certainly active. Now, the balancing act, and this is what we've been talking about the last couple months here after they made the Harden trade, is that you have the obligation to tweak this roster, to improve this roster, to not kind of sit on your hands and say, you know what, we're 29-14, we're 29-15, we're fine as is, and we're going to roll the dice with this roster here, and then we're going to go into the offseason with $55-60 million in cap space. Because for who? Who are you rolling? Who are you going big game hunting for this offseason as far as for cap space? And you can certainly add the trade market in there too, right? So if someone becomes disgruntled, and we don't have a name yet to kind of circle around here. Because when you look at the list of free agents here, and we'll go through the Sixers kind of trade options here, when you look at the list of free agents, the top free agents, and maybe you don't have to go out and get a top free agent because now you've got Maxey and Embiid, and the roster building with these new salary cap rules is not the 3 bigs, right? Or the big 3. It's a $20 million player and a $20 million player, and you basically break up that third max into 2 players here. But if you are going big game hunting, okay, and you want to be one of these top heavy teams, Who is that guy out there? It's not Pascal Siakam. It's not OG Anunoby. It's likely not Drew Holiday. It's likely not LeBron James. Probably not Paul George. Kawhi Leonard's off the board here. Maybe Paul if things go south and with the Clippers as far as negotiations here. So I think you have to be careful, basically saying we've got $55 million, we've got $60 million, because $55 million in this salary cap era, when you look at a guy between 7 and 9 years as far as max years of service, it's like a $44 million player. A guy that's got 10 years plus is like Paul George, for example. That's a $50 million player. So $55 million in this day and age doesn't get you very far here. So I think you have to be careful. And then the other thing is, if you decide going into the offseason, we're going to go cap space, all your free agents, your DeAnthony Meltons and your Marcus Morris and your Daniel House and Batum and all of this group of players, Tobias Harris, to create the room, those players go away if you're going to go shopping for another player. Now, you could go about your business as far as doing sign-in trades, and maybe you retain some of your free agents and you act as a team over the cap. Certainly a lot of different ways to go about doing that. And I think a lot of that is for, let's see what happens with Philadelphia at the trade deadline, and as far as where they go, because that will dictate as far as the offseason here. The goal, if you're in Philadelphia right now, is basically trying to hedge your bet. Okay, what do you mean by hedge your bet? Your goal is to improve the roster gradually at the deadline, but also have the flexibility in the offseason here. And that's why we've been talking about guys in the last year of their contract, or guys that have team options there, not the Zach LaVines of the world, but when you're looking at guys like Malcolm Brogdon, Bruce Brown, Bojan Bogdanovic. Alex Caruso is probably more rich for you. It would probably cost you at least a good one and maybe even two. I was just watching our guys on NBA Today. You know the guy I would go after? I'd go after Klay Thompson. I would go after Klay Thompson if things in Golden State continually go south here, and see if you get to a point where Klay says, you know what, I want to go win. This team's going to be a play-in team at best, and likelihood is that Golden State hangs around, and we're going to do a video on Golden State. But if I was Philadelphia, I'd go after Klay Thompson and put him in the backcourt with Tyrese Maxey here, and even if it cost you 2 ones, because as I said, you would have 1-1 left, and then when you get the night of the draft, all of a sudden you have 3 first again in case another player becomes available here. But those are the type of guys. Miles Bridges, if you can stomach it, right? Miles Bridges would be perfect in Philadelphia, but you have to deal with everything that comes with it as far as, the PR hit you're going to take. A guy that was, not found guilty, but pled, no contest to domestic battery and got 30 games. So that's what you have to sell as far as your, hey, with the rental for the next 4 months. Bridges doesn't have bird rights. You basically would have to use cap space to re-sign him anyway. Bogdanovic would be great. Brogdon would be good. Guys like that, those $20 million players that you don't have any. Brogdon's got another year, but you don't have the obligation to outside of the the next 3 or 4 months of the season here, because Philadelphia is right there, man. They're right there where Milwaukee is, and they're right there for Boston is. But you need another ball handler, and I would say a big wing. That would be my ideal. And certainly, you love another big behind Embiid if you can go out and do that. I mean, if you're not comfortable with Paul Reed here. So I expect Philadelphia to be, they'll be active, but they're not going to say, take all of it, right? Take all our expiring contracts and our 3 first-round picks, because if you wanted to do that, you can go get Zach LaVine here. So that's, and we talked about it, as I said, back in December as far as where the Sixers are. I'm just kind of pulling, there's no all-star level guy available out there in the deal right now. And you've got to, and that's why that next player, that third player, and that fourth player is that, that $20 million guy. Pulling up trades we'd like to see. Covington, 2 seconds to Charlotte from Miles Bridges. I talked about Bridges. Morris, Springer, 2 seconds from Malcolm Brogdon. You see the trend here. I'm trying to save first. That keeps you below the apron, which you have to keep an eye on. If you're taking back within 125%. You've got a $6 million trade exception. You've got cash to send out a deal. You're $4.3 million over the tax. You have a $6.4 million penalty. Tobias Harris has a trade bonus. We've talked about the picks. You owe Oklahoma City a 2025 top 6 protected first. It's top 4 protected in 26. They owe Brooklyn a first 2 years after that Thunder pick is conveyed. That's top 8 protected. As I said, they've got 3 number 1s at their disposal and 6 seconds here. So there's things there to go out and make a deal. But as I said, what you want to do is you don't want to go in there basically hedging your bets as far as, you know what, we've got cap space. Raise the white flag. Because cap space in 2010, with $55, $60 million, gets you 2 guys. Cap space in 2024 gets you 1 and a $10 million guy. So a lot of different directions Philadelphia can go. Certainly a really good team, but I do think there's one or two more pieces that are going to be needed to add more of kind of just an insurance policy going into the postseason. Have a great day. Enjoy the basketball games. We will talk soon. NBA on ESPN.